Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt. I am your host this afternoon, and we're going to be talking about resume tips in 30 minutes. And our topic today is on manufacturing resumes. Our agenda is we're going to be talking about employer expectations for entry-level, mid-career, and experienced job seekers, as well as building a resume for entry-level, mid-career, and experienced job seekers. Our guest speaker today is someone we've had on several other webinars with us, and her name is Lori Husband. She is the owner of Valuable Resources Company. They are an HR company that helps manufacturers who don't necessarily have an entire HR department. So she goes in and helps them, consulting with them and helping them with all of their manufacturing human resources needs. Welcome, Lori, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody.
So today what we're going to do is we're going to start out with what some expectations are for job seekers in the marketplace. And we've got an example up on the screen. And just so that you guys know, if you want to download the handout, there is one of the handouts that has full page slides, and the other handout has 2 slides on a page. So you can download both or just one. And they will be available with the recording once this session is done. So back to our slide. We have an example on the screen here of someone with very extensive employment history. And we've got some bullet points that show some of the standard resume sections. So one of them is summary or objective, certifications, history, and education. Now this particular resume only has the objective and the employment history because we wanted to focus on that. So Lori, what is the difference in the order of the sections between someone that has limited experience and someone with more extensive work experience? How would they put the order of their sections of their resume on their resume?
Well, you want to start with what's the most current. So, for example, excuse me, if you start off with maybe you just graduated from college, you want to put your degree up at the first. So you put your education first, and then you put your experience. Whereas if you're opposite, where you've got experience that's more recent, and then your education is maybe 5 or 10 years ago, then you want to put it in that chronological order.
And how many years back should somebody go with their work experience in today's marketplace?
That's a really good question. I think that a lot of people want to go back probably, I would say a good time to go back, or as far to go back, is about 15 years. But I think it's also going to depend on, you know, what that experience has been over 15, maybe 20 years. You don't want to list every single job that you've ever had, especially if it's not relating to the job that you're currently applying for.
All right, so if somebody is, say, we probably have quite a few career changers on our webinars. So how can they show off their experiences in other industries when they're now applying for a manufacturing position?
What you want to show off is what you've done for a company, what can you bring to this company, whether it is related to manufacturing or not. So for example, if you've maybe been in a different position outside of manufacturing, you want to show like a cost analysis or cost savings or something that you, like big projects that you've done or problems that you have had, you know, great solutions for. So that will show that you're a problem solver, you're taking initiative to do better things for the company. That's what I would recommend.
That's great advice. So let's talk just a moment about the difference between a summary versus an objective. On a couple of our other recordings, the people boasted about or suggested to people that we should have summaries on our resumes rather than objectives, because obviously an objective is you want a new job. But what do you prefer to see as a manufacturing recruiter, summary or an objective?
For me and for manufacturing, I would recommend a summary, kind of recapping what I just had mentioned. You really want to recap, especially if you've got a lot of experience. You want to show the dollars that you have saved a company. So when I look for, you know, an operations manager or a general manager, I want to see what they have done in a brief synopsis of over the past, say, 10 years. What have you done, excuse me, to help a company? And if you can summarize that in a couple of sentences, that makes it more appealing than what you're looking to do.
All right. So now let's talk about this. What should every manufacturing resume include,
As
other
a
than how they
whole,
can solve problems?
bullet points. We want to look for preciseness. We want to look for, okay, so manufacturing has a lot, is very much like engineering. So you measure twice, cut once, right? So we want to make sure that you are very consistent throughout your resume, no errors. If you're using bullet points, then use bullet points. Don't use bullet points, then numbers and dashes. Make it all consistent. Because we're looking for every detail, because we are looking for those manufacturing jobs. We're looking for that detail-oriented person.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And then should they always include certifications, for example? So if somebody has an MSSC, maybe they've got an AWL, they should always have those in there, right?
I would recommend that.
And where should those be listed? Should they be at the top or the bottom, or is there a preference?
I would go back to what I mentioned about your chronological order. So I would put that with your education. So if you're, for example, if you have your education at the bottom of the page, because that's the farthest, you want to maybe put the certification above that, because maybe that's more recent. If your certification is about the same time maybe that you graduated, maybe within the last year or two, and it's the opposite direction, I would put that in the chronological order from what was first, either the education or the certificate. But I would lump it together with your education.
All right, good. Let's talk just a moment while we're here. We had a question from the audience. It says, everyone always mentions money that was saved and so forth, but that isn't applicable if you aren't coming from the business world. What if you were in the field of education and now wanting to get into manufacturing? How can someone show that kind of transferable skill from education into manufacturing so that they can still show somebody their value? What kind of suggestion would you have for that person?
That's a good question, because I think that no matter what field you're in, you can always show a dollar amount cost. Whether it's that you've saved the company money, or if you've added a value to the company with education that you have brought to the company. So making something more efficient, whether it's you're using a different book, or maybe you're not using a book and you're doing something online. So there's a cost savings, right? So something like that could show that you have the best interest of the school, and it could transfer into the manufacturing.
Well, and another thing too is we've used this example before for librarians because they don't necessarily, since they're government funded, they don't necessarily have uh, money that they can earn. So what they can do is how many overdue books did they retrieve? How many late
Mhm.
fines did they get? Those are the sorts of things. If you can just add a number, and it doesn't necessarily have to be money saved or money earned. It has to be percentages or numbers that can make somebody stand up and take notice about what they've done.
Right. That's a
All
great
right.
point. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
huge. That's a good point.
So let's talk just a little bit about what's the difference between a chronological resume and a functional resume, and to whom is which better suited?
Well, chronological is going to be the most effective by time or by date. I think that would be the best way to do it because you want to show your most recent experience. Functional is more about what you've done, and I think it's always important to show the chronological order.
Right. Somebody, though, that has had many, many, many years of experience. Maybe they're on their downside of their career. They've worked in the industry for 40 years. What they can potentially do is use a combination format where they use the major functions. Maybe it's administration, management, the actual skill itself, and then just have a small, short chronological listing of their work history.
You could do something like that. So your summary would probably be a lot longer.
Correct. Correct.
hmm
Um, all right, let's move on to our next slide. This is a little bit of the recap here of what we just talked about. Um, and on the screen, we've got consistent, longevity at each company. What can you do for my company? And then we've got a bullet point here that says recruiter specifics. Do you want to talk about what you meant with that? And I think when you and I were talking, we discussed the fact that you look at what somebody does with their volunteer activities.
Yes, I do. I look outside about volunteer. I think that's a great way to show you're a little bit different than your competition. I'm not, personally, I'm not looking at, and a lot of recruiters are not really looking at what you do, like you play softball or you play volleyball or anything like that, but it's more, are you a Rotarian? Are you, do you help people at church? Do you help people with, volunteering at a nursing home or a hospital or something like that? Um, Something that's a little bit more unique. For example, I have a therapy dog, and I would put something like that on my resume just as something to help people in a different in a different way. That really shows the unique part of you and your personality.
One thing that we tell job seekers all the time, and tell me if you agree with this, is they may have a position where they are in the subordinate position on their job, but maybe they volunteer for something where they're in a leadership capacity. That shows that the person can and does have leadership skills.
Absolutely.
So those are the kind of things that you want to add to a resume that shows what they can do.
Correct. Even if you were, we have people that will put, like they coach softball, or they coach soccer, or they coach something like that as a volunteer. Those are, coaching is definitely a management skill and a leadership skill. So something like that outside that, first of all, you're not getting paid for doing. It's not something that you're obligated. It's something that you're sharing your personal time with because you want to. So that's a huge component that, we look for.
Now, what did you mean by longevity at company? I know that when we did our healthcare one, nurses can progress up the ladder very rapidly. Radiology techs can progress up the ladder very rapidly, and they may be going from one hospital to another. Is that the same thing that happens in manufacturing, or do people have their jobs for a longer period of time?
That's a great question. It can depend on the size of the company and the type of manufacturing that it is. It also will depend on how much does the company value their employees, how much do they, value training to help people move up the ladder. So those are going to depend on the company. But on the employee side, I think that what is best, when I mean longevity, it is how can you stay with the company and really grow with them. We want to find somebody who is committed to that, to us. We don't want somebody who is 6 months here, 5 months here, 1 year here, 2 years here, because that to us, your resume is your first impression. We don't know you. We haven't talked with you yet. We have no idea what your situation is as to why you don't have more than a year at one place. So it just doesn't appeal to us when we see something like that. When we see somebody who has been 2 years in this position at one company, but at the same company, maybe they've jumped up to another position within that company, and they've been there 3, 4, 5 years that they're moving up. Even if someone is staying in a position, the type of role, maybe they're adding responsibilities and not necessarily their title changing, but we want to see that progression, and we also want to see that person really committed to what they want to do. And on your resume, when you show that longevity, that's what we look for.
So how can a new job seeker or someone who's changing careers, like our person that was in education and is now going to manufacturing, what's the difference between somebody with the expectations with somebody like that versus somebody that's been in manufacturing with a lot of experience?
Well, to me, I think that, and I think this might be your next webinar, but I think that's where your cover letter will really help you a lot. When you're changing when you're transitioning, we really want to understand why are you going from education to manufacturing? What's going on in that? So if we see a resume without a cover letter that doesn't have any experience that we're looking for, we're probably not going to spend a lot of time reviewing it. But if we understand what's happening in your cover letter as to why this is changing, it gives you a better opportunity and a chance.
Great.
But like I said, I think that's your next webinar.
Yeah. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about building a resume, and we want to dive into our Illinois workNet resume building tool a little bit, and we do have another session at 2:30 today that's going to talk in depth about that. So what we have up on the screen right now is a resume that's one of our templates, and it starts out with the person's contact information. It has their technical skills and certifications, their education, the related experience, and in fact, one of them is an apprentice position, and the other one is an intern position. And then they've got some previous work history that is also in manufacturing, but they were not doing what they're have recently been trained to do. And then they have other qualifications that that include um, soft skills that we talk about on a regular basis. So what's good about a template in this order? Because it focuses on the certifications that the person got at the top and then their most recent education. So tell us how this person as a career transitioner has positioned themselves.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? You cut out a little bit.
Okay, we have positioned this template with skills and certifications and education at the top, and then related experience that includes an apprentice and an internship position, and
Okay.
then regular work below that.
And so you want to know how they've positioned themselves?
Correct.
Okay, so this is somebody who is maybe graduated recently and trying to kind of get their foot in the door, right? Is that what you're trying to?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. This is a great, this might be where you want to use an objective, and you could actually do a little bit of both with an objective and a summary. But I think that might be a better way to do an objective, showing somebody that, because we really can see, the recruiters that are on the opposite side, we can tell that you're looking for that chance. So you've positioned yourself in a good way to say, I'm dependable, here's my degree, here's my certification, I'm serious about this commitment, I'm serious, especially if you've got an internship that is unpaid versus then paid. Those are things that we can see that, okay, this person is looking for that chance to kind of bust in the doors and then kind of show us what they have. And that's, if there's an entry-level position and you've got an internship like that, you're probably going to be one of the first people called.
Great. All right. Now our next template, also from the Illinois WorkNet Resume Builder, is for another person that has technical skills, education, relevant coursework, and then their positions. They have an intern position as well as a machine operator position. So it's not necessarily what the job that they're applying for is, but they do have some machine operator. And then they put their certifications at the bottom, and they include some volunteer activities. Um, we on the screen we have these bullet points that say they used bullet points. They have eye appeal. It's nice flow. So
Okay.
what's good about that template? But then let's also talk about using a template. How can they make it their own?
Well, in regards to this template, most recruiters in any field that they're reading a resume, whether it's manufacturing or not, we're looking for bullet points. Because it's a quick way to show us that you have what we're looking for. If you write out all of it as a sentence or a paragraph, it's harder to identify quickly, because you have to remember, for every position we probably get a minimum of 200 resumes, so we want to look at it quick. And if we can spot a few of the things that we're looking for, then we're going to read the whole thing. So you're positioning yourself in this one. It looks like this person maybe didn't graduate, but if they show their coursework.
Oh, they graduated, but they have the coursework that was included.
Oh, I would say that's not really, I would say the coursework could be something that could be taken out. If you have the degree, I don't think you need the coursework, because we automatically put put that together. However, if you haven't graduated and you put courses taken, that would be, because when I saw that, that's what I was thinking, well, this person didn't graduate if they give me the coursework.
I see.
And if you have graduated, then you don't want them to think that you didn't graduate.
All right. Well, I think one of the, because this is geared toward people that are changing careers, they may not have the actual experience. And so by having what the coursework is that they took, then the person at least knows, the reader at least knows what they learned in school, what they have.
Yes. Uh-huh.
All right. So let's recap here a little bit. We've got our last bullets about building a resume. On the screen here we have be precise, explain cost savings, and explain solutions. So give us just a 20-second on each one about each of these points. So be precise. Why?
Quick and to the point. We're looking for that detail. We're looking very quickly at your resume. If you see if what we're looking for is there, then we'll read the entire resume.
All right. Explain cost savings.
We're looking to see what you can do for the company and how much initiative you're taking, what type of management skills you have, and such of that nature. We're looking for taking that initiative. And if you've got cost savings or even ways that you have made processes more efficient, we're looking for that.
And last but not least, we have explain solutions.
Everybody is looking, we all have problems at work, right? We don't want more problems. We want you to help us find solutions. So if you identify a problem and you can offer a solution, that is key.
All right. Okay, well, thank you so much to Lori Husband of Valuable Resources Company. She is a human resources consultant for manufacturing companies across the state of Illinois. If you have any additional questions for us, please type them in the chat pod. We will try to get those answered for you. And we will be having our next webinar on the resume building tool itself. And please check back for all of our webinars, all the recordings. And Chelsea, if you want to put that into the chat pod for us where they can find these recordings, we'll have that ready for you just a moment. So have a great day, everybody, and check back with us for our interviewing session at the end of August. Have a great day.
Thank you.